The deal in the shadows. The rain had just started to fall in Lagos, one of those heavy downpours that turned the streets into rivers and the air into a wet blanket. Inside a dimly lit bar tucked between two crumbling buildings in Surulere, a small group of men sat hunched over a rickety table. Cigarette smoke curled through the air, mixing with the sharp scent of cheap gin. The generator outside coughed, threatening to go off at any moment. But no one at that table cared about the flickering light bulb overhead. Their eyes were fixed on one man, the one they called Alhaji Musa. Musa was not your ordinary street hustler. He had presence, the kind of quiet authority that made even the loudest area boys go silent when he entered a room. He had once worked in the banking sector, sharp suits and polished shoes, before the system spat him out after he exposed a scandal that his bosses quickly buried. Now, he wore a simple kaftan, but his eyes still carried that dangerous mix of intelligence and bitterness. Tonight, he leaned forward, his voice low but magnetic. "Gentlemen," he began, swirling his glass lazily, "I didn't call you here to drink or gossip. What I'm about to tell you can change your lives forever. But only if you have the guts to follow through." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. The men exchanged uneasy glances. They weren't strangers to trouble, pickpocketing, car snatching, internet scams, but the way Musa spoke, this sounded like something bigger. Something deadly. In the corner, Chaik, the best driver in Lagos, drummed his fingers impatiently on the table. He was notorious for outrunning police patrols in the narrowest streets, his old Toyota Corolla handling like a Formula One car in his hands. Next to him sat Tega, a wiry ex-cybercafe guru who could break into bank systems faster than most bankers could log in. And across from them was Sunday, a disgruntled security guard who had spent the last 10 years watching armored vans roll in and out of the bank where he worked, always wondering what it would feel like to touch just one of those bags of cash. Musa scanned their faces before leaning in closer. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Inside First Continental Bank, Ikoyi branch, there's a vault. Not just money. Something more valuable. Something powerful people are desperate to keep hidden." He let the sentence hang in the smoky air. The men leaned forward instinctively. Musa smiled thinly. "That's because the fools who tried before didn't have me. I know the building inside out. I know the codes. I even know when the CCTV goes blind." He tapped his temple, his confidence radiating. "And with the right crew, you men, we can pull off a score that will be remembered long after we're gone." There was silence. The generator outside sputtered again, plunging the bar into darkness for a moment before the light flickered back on. It was almost theatrical, like the universe itself was emphasizing Musa's words. Sunday finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "How much are we talking about?" Musa leaned back, a glint in his eyes. "Enough to buy you a new life. But understand, this is not just about the money. What's in that vault can topple men in power. If we succeed, we don't just get rich, we make history." The air grew heavier. Tega whistled under his breath. Chaik muttered a curse. For the first time, they realized this wasn't just a robbery plan, it was a declaration of war. And in that smoky Lagos bar, with rain drumming against the windows, the deal was sealed. The heist that would shock a nation had just been born. The next evening, Musa arranged another meeting. Not in a bar this time, but in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Lagos. The kind of place where no one asked questions, where echoes swallowed secrets. A single lantern lit the room, throwing long shadows on the cracked walls. One by one, the men entered, each carrying the weight of Musa's proposal in their minds. Chaik was the first to stroll in, car keys jingling in his hand like a badge of honor. He had a permanent smirk on his face, the type of confidence only a man who had escaped police checkpoints 10 times could wear. "Oga Musa," he said, leaning casually against a pillar, "if NA driving be the cocoa, forget 'em. I can drive a bicycle for express and still overtake Range Rover. Just give me steering." He chuckled, flashing his gold tooth. Moments later, Tega appeared, holding a small backpack and tapping on his phone like his life depended on it. His glasses were crooked, his shirt untucked, but his mind was razor sharp. He waved without looking up. "Please, who gets Wi-Fi here? This place is too dry. I need a network if you want me to break into the bank firewall. And Musa," he added, finally glancing up, "I hope to say that your plan not to land us for Channel's TV news with our face bold on top screen." The group laughed, but Musa only gave a knowing smile. "Tega, my boy, with your brain and Chike's hands, the police won't even know we passed." Then came Sunday, dressed in his faded security uniform, as if to remind them that he was already risking his life by just being here. He looked exhausted, shoulders slouched, but his eyes carried a simmering anger. "For 10 years, I was guarding that bank like it belonged to my father. Every night I watched millions roll in, while they paid me peanuts. Musa, if it is true we can hit this thing. I am inside." Chike clapped him on the back. "Sunday, no worry. After this job, you can buy bank of your own. Maybe even sack your boss." The men roared with laughter, easing some of the tension. But Musa raised his hand, silencing them. "Gentlemen, this is not comedy night. This is serious business. Each of you brings something the others don't have. Chike, you're the wheelman. No Lagos street is too tight for you. Tega, you'll break their systems from the inside. And Sunday, you're our key. You know their routines, their weak points. Without you, we don't even get past the gate." The weight of Musa's words settled again, though the humor lingered in the air like perfume. Tega scratched his chin and muttered, "So Ismi will type my destiny inside laptop. Wonderful. Insurance?" Chike snorted. "Guys, your insurance is me. Once I am behind the wheel, forget it, they can't catch us." Sunday grinned, for the first time in weeks. Musa simply nodded, satisfied. The crew was forming, and despite the jokes, each man knew what was at stake. They weren't just thieves in the making, they were about to challenge a system that had crushed them for too long. Outside, the rain had stopped. The night was quiet, too quiet, as if the city itself was holding its breath. Inside the warehouse, Musa looked at the 3 men before him and said slowly, almost like a prophecy, "This is the crew. This is the beginning. Lagos will never forget us." And though they laughed again, somewhere deep inside, each man knew he wasn't joking. The heist was no longer a story. It was a mission. The warehouse was quiet except for the hum of the lantern. Musa motioned for Sunday to step forward. The security guard hesitated, looking like a man about to confess a crime he couldn't take back. His uniform was damp from the evening humidity, his hands restless, but his eyes carried a fire the others had never seen before. "You all think this is just about money," Sunday began, his voice low, almost trembling. "But for me, it's more than that. I've worked at First Continental Bank for 10 years. 10 years. I've watched politicians, businessmen, even pastors bring in bags of cash, money stolen from the people, stack it in the vault, and then walk away smiling. Meanwhile, I can barely feed my children." His fists clenched as he spoke, his knuckles white in the dim light. Chike raised his brows and leaned back, whistling softly. "So this is the true insider gist. Sunday, that's a lie. Are you sure this is not a Nollywood script?" Sunday ignored him and continued. "The Ikoyi branch isn't just a bank. It's a hiding place. That vault isn't only full of naira. It holds foreign currency, gold, and," he lowered his voice, "files. Documents. Evidence of dirty deals. Offshore accounts. Politicians using the bank like a personal safe." He spat on the floor, anger lacing his words. "And every time I watch them, I remind myself, one day, I will make them pay." Tega pushed his glasses up and leaned forward, suddenly more interested. "Wait. You day talk say inside that vault get files? Real evidence?" His tone shifted from sarcasm to curiosity. Musa's lips curved into a small smile. This was exactly the fuel he needed. He looked at Sunday with admiration. "You see why I chose him? He's not just a guard. He's the man with the key to their dirtiest secrets." Chike scratched his head and chuckled nervously. "Kai. Musa, you know tell us say na war we day enter. I thought it was just ordinary money issues. Now we are talking about government secrets?" The room erupted in short laughter, but it was nervous, tight laughter. Everyone knew Chike wasn't exaggerating. Nigeria had a way of making whistleblowers disappear like smoke in the Harmattan air. Sunday stepped closer, his voice steady now. "My boss, the branch manager, is a thief in suit. He cuts deals with politicians, takes bribes, and even keeps coded ledgers hidden in that vault. I've seen enough to know this country is bleeding from that one building alone. So, Musa, this is not just about filling pockets. It's revenge. Revenge against men who think they can use us and dump us. For a moment, silence swallowed the warehouse. The lantern flickered as if to punctuate his words. Musa clasped his hands together, eyes gleaming. Gentlemen, do you see? This job isn't just robbery. It's justice. If we succeed, we don't just get rich, we expose them. Tega laughed dryly. Expose them? My brother, Nigerians no day shock again. Even if we carry file come out, DM go still call them fake news. But sure, money still day inside, ABI? Because at the end of the day, man must chop. The group chuckled, the tension breaking slightly, but Musa raised a finger. Yes, money day. More than you can imagine. But understand, this job will shake Nigeria. Once we step in, there's no turning back. The men exchanged glances. Chaik's smirk had faded, Tega's eyes sparkled with calculation, and Sunday looked relieved, as if unburdening his secret gave him strength. Musa studied them carefully. His crew was no longer just chasing wealth. They were stepping into a storm of power, greed, and vengeance. And in that moment, the heist stopped being a crime. It became a mission with a cause, one that could either crown them legends, or bury them as martyrs. Before touching the bank, Musa insisted on a trial run. No soldier goes to war without training, he said firmly. The plan was simple, hijack a delivery van carrying cash from a supermarket in Yaba. Nothing too big, but enough to test their timing, trust, and nerves. That night, the streets were damp from an earlier drizzle, neon lights flickering across puddles. Chaik sat behind the wheel of a beat-up Honda, engine purring softly. Tega hunched in the back seat with his laptop, tracking the van's GPS signal he'd hacked into. Sunday, nerves on edge, fiddled with the toy pistol Musa had given him, just for intimidation, Musa said. The van appeared, headlights cutting through the night. Chaik smirked. Gentlemen, NA showtime. With a screech, he swerved in front of the vehicle, blocking its path. Sunday jumped out, mask on, waving the pistol. Everybody down. Nobody move. His voice cracked slightly, betraying his inexperience. For a moment, it worked. The driver froze. Tega rushed forward to grab the bag in the back. But then, disaster. A bystander across the street started shouting, "Ole? Thief!" Within seconds, people began gathering. Lagos crowds were fast, nothing stayed secret for long. "Chaik, move the car!" Tega yelled, panic lacing his voice. The driver of the van suddenly found courage, slamming his door open and tackling Sunday to the ground. The toy gun skittered away, useless. Musa, watching from a distance, clenched his fists. This was spiraling out of control. But then Chaik roared the Honda forward, honking and scattering the crowd. Tega yanked Sunday up, bag in hand, and they all dove into the car. As they sped off into the night, adrenaline surged. They had the bag, but barely. The test was clear, they needed discipline. Next time, mistakes could kill them. The practice job left the crew rattled. They had escaped with a small bag of cash, but the chaos proved one thing, Lagos was unpredictable. One wrong move, and the city would swallow them whole. Back at the warehouse, Musa paced slowly, his kaftan brushing against the dusty floor. His face was calm, but his eyes betrayed irritation. "You see why I said discipline?" Musa snapped, his voice echoing off the cracked walls. "If you panic on the real job, we're finished. Do you want to die for peanuts?" Chaik chuckled dryly, trying to lighten the mood. "At least we will not die at this time. Besides, NA Lagos people. Before you say jack, a crowd will gather. Even Mosquito get audience for this city." The others laughed faintly, but Musa wasn't amused. He lowered his voice. "What we are about to do is not child's play. And I need you to understand, this heist is bigger than all of us." Sunday frowned. "Bigger how?" Musa stopped pacing and leaned forward, his tone dropping to a near whisper. "Because we're not the only ones who want that vault cracked. There are people, powerful people, watching. Some want those files gone. Others want them exposed. And they've made it clear, if we succeed, we'll be protected." The men froze. Tega blinked rapidly. "Protected, by who? Please Musa, don't tell me that we are working for politicians." Musa gave a small, knowing smile. "Let's just say some men in high places have their own reasons for wanting this done. They can't get their hands dirty, but they want what's in that vault. And they're willing to look the other way, even help us disappear after." Chaik rubbed his chin, suspicious. "So they are sponsoring us? And they will carry the lion's share after we risk our necks?" Musa's smile faded. "No. We're not their pawns. We're their shadow. They get what they want, we get what we need. It's a transaction, not charity." Sunday's voice shook with anger. "So all this time, those thieves at the top have been playing games while we suffer? Now they want us to do their dirty work." Musa nodded. Yes. And that's why we win either way. If we succeed, we take the money. If the files leak, we expose them. Either way, their empire shakes. The room fell silent. The realization was chilling. This wasn't just a robbery. They were walking into a web of politics and betrayal. In Nigeria, when powerful men were involved, lives were cheap. Tega broke the silence, forcing a weak laugh. So basically, we are the sacrificial goat. The crew laughed, but uneasily. Musa's eyes narrowed, his voice calm but sharp. Exactly. Eat well before you die. That's the game. But me? I don't plan on dying. Outside, the city buzzed with its usual chaos, Danfo buses honking, generators humming, vendors shouting. But inside that warehouse, 4 men sat in the shadows, realizing the truth. They were no longer chasing wealth. They were stepping into a war orchestrated by men far above them. And for the first time, each of them wondered quietly, what if Musa wasn't telling them everything? The warehouse was unusually quiet that night. The lantern flickered, casting restless shadows on the walls. For the first time since the plan began, no one was laughing or cracking jokes. The weight of what they were about to do pressed down on them like the humid Lagos air. Tomorrow, they would walk into danger, either to glory or to prison. Chaik was the first to break the silence. He tossed his car keys in the air, caught them, and sighed. Guys, I'm not going to lie. My spirit is unsettled. This thing we want to do might end badly. I might quit the plan. Find small taxi work. His voice was unusually soft, stripped of his usual bravado. Tega immediately snorted, shaking his head. Taxi work? My guy, you weed drive like devil wan resign now? Abeg, if you don't want to drive tomorrow, give me your Corolla. I am going to use it for Uber. The group burst into short laughter, but it quickly died down. Musa's eyes stayed fixed on Chaik. If you walk away now, you'll always wonder what could have been. You think poverty will let you rest? Lagos doesn't forgive cowards. His tone was harsh, but his eyes betrayed something else, fear of losing his best driver. Sunday suddenly spoke up, his voice raw. I'm not doing this for money. The others turned to him, surprised. He clenched his fists, his voice cracking. My daughter is sick. Doctors say she needs surgery in India. I've begged, I've prayed, I've worked 10 years for that bank and can't even afford Panadol. This job, it's my only chance to save her. The room fell silent again. Even Tega, usually sarcastic, lowered his gaze. Chaik rubbed his face, muttering, Kai. Life has no balance. Musa finally placed a hand on Sunday's shoulder. Then we do this. Not just for money, not just for revenge, but for her. For the first time, the crew wasn't just thinking about riches or revenge. They were bound by something deeper, survival, sacrifice, and desperation. Tomorrow wasn't just a heist. It was a lifeline. And as the lantern sputtered, they knew none of them would sleep that night. Midnight in Ikoyi. The streets were unusually calm, the city's noise dimmed to a distant hum. The bank stood tall and cold, its glass walls reflecting the faint glow of streetlights. To any passerby, it looked untouchable, an iron fortress where money slept safe. But tonight, Musa and his crew were coming to wake it up. Chaik's engine purred softly in the alley behind the bank. He tapped the steering wheel nervously, his eyes darting between the rearview mirror and the road ahead. Gentlemen, he muttered, I'm not kidding. If anything goes wrong, I will drive off and leave you guys. Tega chuckled, hunched over his laptop in the backseat, wires snaking into a small device connected to the bank's service box. His fingers flew over the keyboard, beads of sweat on his forehead. Relax. In 5, 4, 3, he hit the enter key, and the bank's CCTV screens flickered into static. And just like that, their eyes go blind. Tell them good night. Musa nodded, calm as ever, and signaled to Sunday. The guard slipped into his role, walking boldly toward the side gate. He flashed his ID card to the sleepy security man posted there, and with casual authority said, Ogre manager send me come check the generator, say E-day make noise. The guard yawned, waved him through without question. Inside, the plan unfolded like choreography. Sunday led Musa and Tega through a side entrance, their steps quiet on the marble floors. The silence of the bank was unnerving, broken only by the low hum of electricity. Tega set up his gear again, connecting to the vault's electronic locks. Give me 2 minutes, he whispered, his eyes glowing behind his crooked glasses. Suddenly, the lights went out. Total darkness. The power had been cut, just as planned. Outside, Chaik revved the engine twice, their signal. Inside, emergency lights flickered on, dim and weak. Perfect cover. Vault unlocked, Tega hissed, grinning as the heavy steel door gave a mechanical sigh. Musa pushed it open, and their eyes widened. Stacks upon stacks of naira and dollars, gold bars neatly arranged like loaves of bread, and in the corner, sealed boxes marked confidential. Sunday's breath caught in his throat. "Na here DM keep 'em." But before they could celebrate, a sudden noise shattered the moment. A guard on night patrol turned the corner, flashlight cutting through the shadows. His eyes widened as he spotted them. "Hey! Who?" Musa didn't hesitate. He lunged forward, knocking the man unconscious with the butt of a pistol. The guard slumped silently. Musa's voice was steel. "No mistakes. Focus." The crew rushed to fill their bags, adrenaline surging. Chaik's voice crackled in Musa's earpiece. "Time is going. I am outside. Can we disappear please?" Sweat dripped. Hands trembled. Hearts raced. The heist was alive, pulsing with danger. And though they had entered as shadows, the question now was, could they escape the same way? The vault smelled of old paper and iron, a cold, suffocating scent that clung to their clothes as they moved inside. Their eyes should have been fixed on the mountains of cash, but something else drew them in. The confidential boxes stacked neatly in the corner, sealed with red wax and heavy locks, seemed to pulse with a sinister aura. Tega, curiosity sparking in his eyes, pointed at them. "Omo, na this one day call me spirit. Money is good, but this is the real jackpot." Sunday hesitated, sweat dripping from his brow. "Those boxes belong to the ogre DM. I've seen politicians carry them in, smiling like kings. If we open them, we are not just robbing, we are digging our own grave." But Musa was already kneeling in front of one, his hands steady, his expression unreadable. "If there's power in this vault, I want to see it." With a swift motion, he pried the lock open using a crowbar. The lid creaked, and the air thickened with suspense. Inside were folders, hundreds of them. Neatly bound, stamped with government seals, names written in bold black ink. Musa pulled one out, flipped it open, and froze. Offshore accounts. Bank statements. Wire transfers in the billions. Names of senators, governors, even men of God who preached holiness on Sunday but laundered money on Monday. Chaik let out a low whistle. "Jisoo. See names. This one is more than a Hollywood script. If this thing leaks, Nigeria will scatter." Tega snatched another file, scanning quickly. His jaw dropped. "Wait, this one is an oil contract. Billions vanish just like that. Omo, I dey tell Una, this no be bank job again. This is a revolution." Sunday's hands trembled as he reached for a folder with his manager's name boldly printed. "That bastard," his voice cracked with fury. "He's been eating millions while I can't buy medicine for my child." Musa closed the folder and looked at them, his face unreadable but his eyes burning. "Now you understand. The money is good, yes, but these documents? They are worth more than gold. With this, we can crush them." Chaik shook his head violently. "Crush who? My guy, do not deceive us. If we carry these files, a bullet will meet us before sunrise. Politicians will not forgive. I came here for money, not politics." Tega's lips curved into a crooked grin. "Bullet or no bullet, this one sweet me. We get the money, we hold the files. That means we control everything. Imagine, big men will beg us. We will decide their fate." The vault suddenly felt hotter, the air heavier. They had come for cash, but what they found was a weapon. Not one made of steel or gunpowder, but of secrets sharp enough to topple governments. Musa shut the box with a thud, his decision firm. "We take both. The money and the files. Tonight, we stop being thieves. Tonight, we become kings." But even as he spoke, somewhere deep inside, each man felt the truth. They had just crossed a line. And once you step into the shadows of Nigeria's powerful, there is no going back. It started with a single shriek. A distant alarm, faint at first, then growing louder, angrier, until it filled the bank like a scream. The emergency lights flared red, pulsing against the vault walls. Musa's jaw clenched. "They've tripped it. Time to go." Chaik's voice exploded through the earpiece, panic-laced with excitement. "Guys, everywhere is red. The police are moving like cockroaches. Please, run fast, I am waiting." The crew scrambled. Tega stuffed his laptop into his bag, his hands shaking but his mouth still running. "I swear, if I survive this, I will open a church. Miracle Ministry of Holy Hackers. Offering to be Bitcoin only." Sunday lugged the heavy sack of cash, his muscles screaming, while Musa carried one of the confidential boxes. As they sprinted through the marble halls, the sound of boots echoed, guards shouting, radios crackling. A flashlight beam cut across the corridor. Bullets cracked against the wall as Musa shoved the others forward. They burst out the side entrance just as Chaik screeched the Honda to a stop, the tires crying against the wet asphalt. "Enter, enter," he shouted. The crew piled in, bags tumbling over their laps, and with one violent jerk, Chaik slammed the accelerator. The streets of Lagos came alive. Sirens wailed behind them, flashing lights cutting through the night. Chaik weaved through traffic like a madman, his laughter wild. "Today they will know that I am Schumacher." A police Hilux truck swerved in from the right, blocking the road. Without flinching, Chaik veered into a narrow alley so tight the side mirrors scraped sparks off the walls. Sunday screamed, "You want to kill us?" Chaik grinned, eyes blazing. "Any mistake the police will kill us. Choose." They burst out onto the expressway, the city flashing by in a blur of neon lights, Danfo buses, and startled pedestrians. Police trucks chased close, horns blaring. Then, in one daring move, Chaik swerved onto a side street flooded with market stalls. Goats scattered, traders cursed, tomatoes flew into the air like confetti. The Honda skidded around a final corner, and the sirens began to fade behind them. Heartbeats thundered, sweat poured, but for the moment, they were free. Musa exhaled slowly, gripping the box on his lap. "This is just the beginning," he muttered. And in the chaos of Lagos, the night swallowed them whole. The warehouse smelled of sweat and diesel. They had just returned from the heist, bags of cash stacked in one corner, the mysterious box of documents sitting on Musa's table like a silent judge. For a moment, there was relief, laughter, heavy breaths, the giddy disbelief that they had actually pulled it off. But as the hours stretched, relief gave way to unease. The money was tangible, but the files? They were dangerous. Everyone knew it. And danger had a way of breeding greed. Tega was the first to crack. That night, while the others slept on old mattresses, he stayed awake, glasses glinting in the dim lantern light. He opened one folder after another, his mouth dry as he read the names, senators, governors, ministers, even police commissioners. Offshore accounts. Secret bribes. Hidden oil contracts. His hacker's brain buzzed with possibilities. This is worth more than any bag of cash. A sly grin crept onto his face. He slipped a few files into his backpack, careful not to disturb the pile. "I don't want to betray anybody," he muttered under his breath. "But information is power. And power can pay more than money." The next day, Musa noticed something was off. Tega was too eager, too fidgety, always clutching his bag like it held his soul. Musa's eyes narrowed. He had seen greed before, it was always the crack that destroyed a crew. Chaik, sharp-eyed as ever, caught it too. "Guy, what are you hiding inside your bag? Is that your girlfriend's underwear you packed with our loot?" He laughed, but his tone carried suspicion. Tega snapped. "Mind your business. Not everything concerns you." The room went quiet. Sunday stared at him, his fists tightening. "If you carry those files to sell to politicians, you will put all of us to the grave. You are not making sense?" Tega's voice rose, defensive, shaky. "You think Musa Day tell us everything? You think those politicians are backing us? They have already got a plan? At least if I hold a small file, I get a bargaining chip. That's survival, my people." Musa stood slowly, his presence heavy, his gaze sharp as a blade. "Survival for one man means death for the rest. Is that what you want, Tega? To bury us so you can eat alone?" Tega swallowed hard, eyes darting. His hand hovered near his bag, as if ready to run. The tension snapped like an overstretched wire. Chaik moved first, grabbing Tega's collar and slamming him against the wall. "I swear, if you sell us out, I will personally feed you to police dogs." Sunday joined, his voice shaking with fury. "My daughter's life depended on this money. If you mess this up, I won't forgive you." For a moment, it looked like they'd tear him apart. Musa finally raised a hand. "Enough." His voice cut through the chaos. "We are in this together, or not at all. If anyone betrays this crew, I will not hesitate. Understand?" Tega's chest heaved. His glasses slid down his nose. He nodded reluctantly, though his eyes still glimmered with restless ambition. The crew settled, but the trust was gone. The money had made them rich, but the documents had made them enemies. And in the shadows of that warehouse, betrayal had already begun to poison the air. By dawn, the city was on fire, not with flames, but with rumors. The Ikoyi Bank heist had already made its way to every TV station, radio program, and WhatsApp group in Nigeria. Headlines screamed, "Unbelievable heist in Lagos, billions missing." Some reports even whispered of sensitive documents stolen, though no one could confirm it. On social media, the story exploded like a Harmattan bushfire. Twitter timelines churned with hashtags, #Lagos Heist, #Ole or Hero, #Bank Looters. Memes flooded instantly, pictures of goats in ski masks, Danfos with getaway car written on them, even Nollywood actors pasted into fake movie posters titled The Ikoyi Job. Nigerians laughed, but beneath the humor was something else, fascination. Some saw them as villains. "See these thieves," one angry Facebook post read. "THS is why country cannot get better. Ordinary men, but greed will not let them rest." Others defended them. "These politicians are the real thieves. If these boys expose the truth, they will become heroes." By afternoon, the frenzy turned into full-blown debate. Pundits argued on live TV. One retired police officer barked, "These are criminals, simple. They must be hunted down." A young activist countered, "Criminals, yes, but maybe criminals doing what the system failed to do. If those files leak, Nigeria will shake." In markets and buses, Nigerians gossiped like it was a World Cup final. Every man, woman, and child had an opinion. Were the crew armed robbers? Or reluctant revolutionaries? And somewhere in Lagos, hiding among the noise, Musa and his men watched it all unfold. Their names were unknown, their faces unseen, but their story had become larger than life. For better or worse, the nation had crowned them legends. At first, the stolen documents were whispers, rumors shared in smoky bars and anonymous blogs. But within days, snippets began to leak online. Screenshots of foreign bank accounts with familiar names attached. A contract signed by a governor, billions siphoned into shell companies. A pastor's ministry funneling donations into offshore real estate. The effect was instant. Abuja shook. Phones rang endlessly in luxury offices. Politicians who had spent decades untouchable suddenly felt naked. One senator hurled his phone across the room when his aide showed him a trending post on Twitter, #stolen oil and gas, see how Senator XYZ looted billions. His face, once plastered on campaign billboards promising change and prosperity, now sat side by side with screenshots of Swiss bank statements. In a government house in Port Harcourt, a governor paced his office, sweating through his agbada. "Shut it down," he barked at his commissioner. "Find who is leaking these things. Pay them, threaten them, silence them, I don't care." His voice cracked, panic rising. He knew the files were real. He knew his signature was on at least 2. Even the police force wasn't safe. A commissioner's name appeared in a leaked folder, millions laundered through security contracts. Reporters swarmed him the next morning, microphones shoved in his face. He stammered, sweating under the cameras. "This is, fabricated. Fake news." But the more he denied, the more Nigerians believed the files were genuine. The scandal grew into a storm. Newspapers screamed headlines, "Vault of secrets leaked, Nigeria's power brokers exposed." Radio hosts laughed bitterly on air, calling it the biggest laundry day in Nigerian history. On WhatsApp, Nigerians forwarded the files like gossip, each revelation juicier than the last. Churches weren't spared either. One of the most respected pastors, famous for his fiery sermons on morality, was exposed for laundering tithes through the very bank that had been robbed. When his name trended online, Nigerians were merciless. "Daddy Gio de do Yahoo pass Yahoo boys," one comment read, followed by laughing emojis. In the corridors of power, emergency meetings were held. Old alliances crumbled as paranoia spread. Politicians who once toasted champagne together now accused one another of betrayal. Some began moving money offshore at frantic speed, desperate to cover tracks that were already exposed. And yet, amidst the panic, one question loomed larger than all others: who were the thieves? The faces of Musa and his crew remained unknown. Anonymous. Ghosts. And because they were faceless, they became symbols. To the people, they were avengers. To the elite, they were executioners with knives at their throats. In a private villa, one aging general whispered to his aide, "Find them. Pay them. Or kill them. But this cannot continue." His voice trembled not with anger, but with fear. For the first time in years, Nigeria's most powerful men were afraid. And somewhere in Lagos, in a dusty warehouse, Musa watched the chaos unfold on a flickering TV screen. His lips curled into a thin smile. "Let them sweat," he muttered. "This is only the beginning." The warehouse was thick with tension. The money lay untouched, the stolen documents scattered across Musa's desk like puzzle pieces. Everyone was exhausted, eyes red, nerves frayed. But it was the insider, Bode, the bank employee, who finally broke the silence. His face was pale, his voice shaky. "There's something I didn't tell you," he began. The crew froze. Musa's gaze locked on him like a lion's. "Talk. Now." Bode swallowed hard. "That night? The heist wasn't entirely ours. We were being used." Confusion rippled through the room. Chike laughed bitterly. "Used? Please, don't start with riddles. We planned this thing from scratch." Bode shook his head. "Yes, but think about it. How did the cameras stay blind so long? How did the patrol team delay before showing up? Why did the vault codes I gave you even work? Because some people wanted them to." Musa's stomach tightened. "Which people?" "The politicians," Bode whispered. "Some of them knew the bank was being hit. They allowed it. Not because they wanted us to succeed, but because it covered something bigger. The night we struck, another transfer was made. Billions, real billions, moved out of the country through that same bank system. While the whole city was shouting about the robbery, nobody noticed the real theft." Silence crashed over the room. Tega blinked, stunned. Wait, you dey tell me say na distraction we be? All this risk, all this while, just so some Agbada thief fit move money abroad? Bode nodded miserably. We were pawns. Disposable pawns. Sunday slammed his fist on the table, veins bulging. So this is a trap from the beginning? They set us up to take the heat while they disappear with the real money. Musa's eyes burned with fury. For the first time, he felt the weight of betrayal, not just against the crew, but against himself. He had thought he was the mastermind. But now, he realized, they were just pieces in a larger, crueler game. Chaik spat on the ground. Guys, if this is a double cross, then the game is not yet over. Because if they use us, Musa, we will use them back. Musa leaned back, silent for a moment, then spoke in a low, steady tone. No. We won't just use them. We'll burn them. The crew exchanged tense glances. For the first time, their heist wasn't about survival or money. It was about revenge. The heat came faster than anyone expected. Within days of the leaks, the crew's faces, once invisible, were plastered across TV screens and online blogs. Grainy CCTV stills, blurry images, even doctored photos were being pushed everywhere. The media called them the Lagos ghosts. The police called them wanted men. But Musa knew the truth, it wasn't law enforcement that was hunting them. It was the politicians. One by one, the net closed in. Tega, the hacker, vanished first. No one knew if he escaped or if he'd been silenced. Rumors swirled that he had tried to cut a secret deal with a senator, but the next morning his phone went dead, and his online accounts disappeared. The crew whispered his name with dread. Sunday was next. He had gone to check on his family in Ajagunal, disguising himself in a cap and cheap slippers. But someone tipped off the police. By nightfall, he was dragged out in handcuffs, his wife screaming in the street. On TV, the government paraded him as a dangerous criminal. His daughter's face appeared in the crowd, tears streaking her cheeks. The crew watched the broadcast in silence, guilt cutting deep. Chaik tried to run. Always the joker, always the restless one, he had dreamed of escaping to Ghana. But the border was crawling with soldiers. They found his body in a shallow ditch, his laughter silenced forever. The warehouse that once buzzed with plans now echoed with emptiness. Only Musa and Bode remained, two shadows in a city that no longer hid them. Musa knew it was over. But he refused to bow quietly. Bode, he said one night, staring at the flickering lantern, they wanted us to be pawns. But pawns can still break the board if they move right. Bode shook his head. Musa, it's finished. We can't fight the whole system. Musa smiled sadly. I'm not fighting to win. I'm fighting so they'll never forget. The next morning, he walked straight into the lion's den. Dressed in a clean shirt and worn-out jeans, Musa entered Freedom Park, where a press conference was being held. Journalists swarmed the area. Security tried to block him, but his voice thundered across the courtyard. My name is Musa Adeyemi, he declared, eyes blazing. I am the mastermind of the Lagos heist. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cameras snapped. Reporters shoved microphones forward. Soldiers raised their rifles. But Musa kept speaking, louder, fiercer. They call me a thief. But the real thieves sit in government houses, in churches, in police uniforms. We only stole to reveal the rot they buried. And now you have seen it. Chaos erupted. Security men surged toward him. Shots rang out, sharp, final. Musa staggered, blood blossoming across his shirt. But even as he fell, he lifted a trembling hand, pointing at the cameras. Don't forget, he whispered. The crowd screamed. Journalists shouted. In that moment, Musa's name became more than a headline. It became a legend. By nightfall, Lagos was still buzzing. Some called him a criminal. Others called him a martyr. But all agreed on one thing, the mastermind had fallen, yet his shadow lingered, etched forever in the nation's memory. Musa was dead, but his story had just begun. Weeks passed, but the echoes of the Lagos heist refused to fade. Streets were alive with murmurs, newspapers kept running follow-up stories, and social media would not let the memory die. Nigeria had seen robberies before, but this one was different. It wasn't just about money, it was about truth, and truth, once revealed, could not be buried again. In Ajagunal, children reenacted the robbery with toy guns made from broomsticks. They shouted, Musa! Musa, as though he were a superhero, leaping over imaginary fences. To them, he wasn't a thief, he was the man who dared to shout at giants. Market women argued over prices while slipping in gossip about the files that had exposed politicians. Even in sermons, some pastors used Musa's name as a cautionary tale, though the congregation often chuckled knowingly. The government tried hard to erase him. Officials denied the documents, labeled the heist a mere criminal operation, and insisted the allegations were politically motivated lies. Yet the more they denied, the more the people believed. Because everyone knew corruption ran deep. Musa had simply ripped the veil off. Songs were written in his honor. One underground musician released a track titled Ghost of Lagos, where he rapped about Musa's last stand at Freedom Park. The song spread like wildfire, blasting from Danfo buses, barbershops, and roadside stalls. Young Nigerians found in it both rebellion and hope, a reminder that even ordinary men could shake the pillars of power. But it wasn't just the streets that changed. Quietly, politicians began moving differently. Some grew more careful, hiding their wealth deeper, while others, fearing exposure, slowed down their greed. A few, surprisingly, even pushed reforms, hoping to clean their names before anyone dug further. The system was not fixed, but it had been rattled. For Musa's crew, their legacy was bittersweet. Tega was never found, Sunday remained in prison, and Chaik's grave became a secret shrine where youths whispered prayers of courage. Bode, the insider, disappeared into the shadows, leaving behind only a single message posted anonymously online: "We were pawns. But pawns can start a revolution." And as for Musa, his death only amplified his voice. That final defiant speech, captured on shaky camera phones and replayed endlessly online, became iconic. Nigerians shared it like scripture: "They call me a thief. But the real thieves sit in government houses." The word stung, burned, and lingered. In the end, the heist was remembered not for the money stolen, most of which was lost, seized, or untraceable, but for the corruption it unveiled. It became the robbery that stole more than cash. It stole the illusion that the powerful were untouchable. Years later, when young activists marched in protests, placards appeared with Musa's name scrawled in bold paint. "Musa lives," one read. Another, "We are the ghosts of Lagos." The Lagos heist had failed on paper. The crew scattered, broken, betrayed. But in the minds of the people, it was victory. It was proof that even shadows could shake a nation, and even in failure, Musa had carved his place in history. The robbery was over. But the legend had just begun.